tienes esa cosa especial, bella mariposa especial, ella con su rosa especial, todos quieren ese especial. Tú tienes esa cosa especial, bella mariposa especial, ella con su rosa especial.
Huzzah, I am Monk, your host. Welcome to PIDCAST episode 31, the podcast by fans, for fans, and for the people who just really need to vent about the Colorado Rapids. PIDCAST is a part of the Bangarang soccer community, telling soccer stories a mile high in the sky and on till morning. After you're all done pressing pins into your front office voodoo dolls, come touch grass with us at our free-to-play pickup around Denver. Don't forget to check out our sibling show, Summit Up, covering all things Denver Summit FC, NWSL, and women's sports here at 5280. Say hello to my co-host and fantasy queen, Fitouri.
Hey, Monk, how's it going?
You know, not too bad. Not too bad. And the guy who actually can pronounce Asshat Epstein or whatever, Matt.
Oh, acetaminophen. It's acetaminophen. Damn it. No, I can't pronounce it, which is probably because I've taken so much of it. Yeah, wild.
Oh, shall we roll into Pidder Chatter, Matt? What is going on there?
Well, since Sara invoked Summit FC, I will point out that we sent our very own Haley Guardo and Becky Duffy Hill to the Colorado Women's Foundation annual luncheon last week. Hallie will talk about the luncheon on the next episode of Summit Up, but if you go onto our socials, you can see the fantastic photos that Becky took. She has this one photo of a close-up of Abby Wambach that's just amazing. So go check out Becky's stuff on our socials and then dive into the full catalog of just the immense talent she produces as a photographer. Going back to non-Summit Up news and kind of a negative light. We've seen this happen before, but Hartford Athletic of the USL walked off the field during stoppage time, in which they were down 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They walked off the field in solidarity after former Rapid Marlon Hairston was subjected to racial abuse. We don't know the extent or terminology used, but I think for everyone that knows Marlon from his time with the Rapids, I think we can firmly stand behind him as the team did. This is of note, particularly because Marlon is a former Rapid, but also current Rapid. Josh Bellows is on loan to Hartford, and former Rapid Seb Anderson is now a Hartford Athletic player. So our thoughts go out to Marlon Hairston. I feel like, I don't know. It's just one of those things we almost talk about every week where there's something we can just say this shit has to stop. Speaking of loanees, we chatted with recent Rapids USL movers. For Jackson Travis, he says things at Birmingham are going well for him. For Malik Pinto, he's had a smooth time getting settled in Orange County and is establishing chemistry with Bryce Jameson in Orange County Soccer Club's playoff run. And then the aforementioned Josh Bellows has been fortunate to have familiarity at Hartford Athletic from his time playing with Seb Anderson here in Colorado. He also said he's become fast friends with Marlon Hairston, that Marlon's helped him out a lot, and they talk quite a bit. As for loanees that have since returned, Kamani Stewart-Baines was out of the boot at training last week. He's still not training, but he was on the sidelines, pepping up the guys. He was taking some shots with his left foot. Clearly seems like he's itching to get back into the mix. And then Adam Beaudry, who returned from the Switchbacks, I just want to point out, had a crazy game for R2 this weekend. They played Hugh 2. They won 4-1. Beaudry had some amazing saves. I still think he's, of all the talent we have in GK Union, Beaudry is the bravest and wildest goalkeeper that we have. And then I'll point out in the 4-1 win of Rapids 2, they spread the wealth. Bilo Jop, Anthony Garcia, Alex Harris, and James Cameron all were goal scorers in that match. In other MLS news, formerly of DC and Atlanta United, Mateus Clenched left a Yelp review for the league which steered diners away from Jorge Messi-run Miami and the mess of that club. He said the facilities at the Ohio clubs were nice, but the cities were boring to live in. And that Portland and Seattle were great, but at the end of the world. His best recommendation was to look into the two New York teams, the Red Bulls and the Blue Pigeons, for the ultimate combination of facilities, team, and location. Any thoughts on that one, guys?
Wait, what?
So a guy who likes New York just shat on everybody else and then was like, oh, well, I like New York. Great. Okay.
I thought Sarah would have more reaction about Messi.
Come on. Move on.
Oh, come on. Okay. And then lastly, in World Soccer news, Ousmane Dembele and Aitana Bonmati both won their respective Ballon d'Or awards. Particularly interesting, this is a three-peat award win for Bonmati, the Spanish star. So I don't know how they could afford it, but maybe Denver Summit should call up Aitana. Why not? YOLO. Hell, at this point, the Rapids should call up Aitana. Like, who's playing?
Very true. Speaking of who played, though, we did play this last weekend. Wasn't a great game. We'll just go into that. Fitouri, how did this break down?
Yeah, so Rapids played FC Dallas this past weekend. Going into the game, Rapids were 3 spots ahead of Dallas in the rankings and 5 points ahead. Dallas made the scoreboard first with a 14-minute goal from Musa. Musa, of course, being Dallas's star striker and top goal scorer. But we did see a quick response from Rapids right wing Calvin Harris, who scored in the 21st minute. Unfortunately, the tit for tat ended there. Dallas went on to score another before the half, the one unanswered. Then in the 80th minute, we had an own goal from Maxu, which put us at the final score of Dallas 3, Rapids 1. I think to note that Monk shared last week that Dallas had been undefeated since July, and they continue that streak as they are steadily marching up the table. These 3 points actually jumped them up 2 spots in the table. They now sit just under the Rapids in 9th place, and Rapids are clinging to 8th for dear life after this last weekend's loss. What did you all think of this game?
The stats don't look good. We had 2 shots on target, which means even if we'd put them in, we still lose this game. So
we had 7 shots on target. What stats are you looking at?
you have the wrong. You're looking at Dallas.
Isn't that who we played?
We had 2 shots on target. You see the blue number there?
Oh no, we're blue?
Yeah, that is okay. Fair. That is, I can understand why that would confuse you.
Yeah, we're on the right side of that.
Damn, Thought Mob, how are you gonna have burgundy and it not be us?
I will say what is funny.
Like a whole thing of... Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I was just going to explain the confusion, which is that often we are the red color in the stats, and it also would make sense because we're used to not having the majority of possession. So if you quickly eyeballed these stats, it would make sense that they would be reversed.
Yeah, I was like, we got back to not having possession, guys. We're good. Well, there goes any credibility I'd managed to gather for this entire season. Go ahead, Monk.
So I don't know. Watching the game, we didn't look great. Our defense obviously let in 3, 1 from an own goal. I felt like this one we like these last games need to be wins, but this one, like this was kind of our last chance at playing a game that I think that we should be the better team, or not playing in Salt Lake. Right, because our next 3 games, 2 of them are top 4 teams, and 1 of them is in Salt Lake for the RMC Cup, which we have notoriously tanked. So, like, our next 3 games, we needed this win to essentially, I'd say, really put us in that playoff spot. We are now at a point where if we can't deliver in games that we could struggle in, we might not make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
what concerns me here is a little bit of read on our defense. Um more than our offense, I think necessarily, and that is that when you look at the shot map, they were just all over right in front of the goal, and that's a really, really dangerous place to just allow shot after shot from right inside the box. And then on the opposite side, we saw even of the rapid shots, very few of them actually took place inside the box.
yeah. I think defensively, what you were touching on, Sarah, what I saw, it still seemed like a back line that is finding itself. That header from Musa seemed like a miscommunication from Maxu, Holding, and Santos. There were times in this match where it seemed like Holding was not too happy with the positioning or the backup that Santos was offering in defense. One of my favorite parts about Rob Holding being on this team is how demonstrative he is, and you can very clearly tell on the pitch when he is happy or unhappy about something that his players or opponents are doing. Um, yeah, that Calvin Harris shot was absolutely a stunner, though. The settle, stop, and the complete misdirect. He froze the keeper in his boots. I thought that one was cold blooded, and I got so excited when we thought we had that Yappy Hour brace goal that got called back for being slightly offsides. I know that's something Yappy and Navahu have been working on a lot this season about being too trigger happy on the run. In training, they're constantly working with one of the assistant coaches on the side as the line judge to try and curb that those offside runs.
If you look at the stat sheet on our players, we only had 2 that were green. One of them being Aronson. Good news. He's showing up. He's showing he's a positive influence. And the other being Harris, which I feel like he's only green because he scored a goal. So, like, the rest of our team is in orange. Some of them borderline pushing into that red state. Like, that is not a good look.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen even the small sample size and with the limited time he's had to kind of work himself into the system, Aronson is going to be that guy for this team. Like we said last episode, I really think Paxton Aronson is a 2026 MVP candidate for the MLS. I think there are a couple notable things here. Is we saw the return of the if Rapids concede first, they're out of the match. Shout out to Braden Nurse of Denver Post and Commerce City Radio. He put up a stat table that showed the Rapids are tied for 14th, basically worst in the league with New England Revolution for points gained after conceding first. I think we are 0 and 11 and 3 after conceding first, which is just I know that the idea is that goals change games and that when you're having to to try and catch the game, you get caught out and it can make itself worse. But that is such a telling stat to see that like one goal and a team can pretty much just low block and write us off. That's wild. And then the other kind of controversy is in the post game. Again, shout out to Braden and Matt Pollard, who did the virtual post game. We saw more frustration from Cole, who reiterated what I will kindly characterize as displeasure with playing this left wing position. I think the quote was something like, I've told you guys 1,000 times where I think my best position is and how I think I can best help this team when I play that position, which is something like you just hate to see it from a team and a coach that really needs to figure out a way to have all their best players contribute at the same time on their pitch. But also you hate to see it from a player who, works so hard and tries so hard for this team to be frustrated with the position he's put in to help it. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's okay. It's okay to be frustrated and stuff. And yeah, probably isn't in the position that he wants to be, but at the same time, like the center of our field has better talent than I would argue Cole has shown. Right? So if he wants that spot, he has to prove that he's better than our other central players. What he's showing is that he can outperform our wingers, right? So if that's the position he can earn and get, then he gets that one. So like I get the frustration, and maybe he can't be as effective as he wants to be because he's out of position in his mind. But I think there are just better players in that spot that he feels like he should be in.
I'm gonna push back on that one, Monk. I don't. I think he easily can beat out one of Ronan or Laraz for a more complementary double pivot pairing back there. And I think we've seen that a bit in the season. What I think this is showing is that the that Armis or the team doesn't trust Manyoma or KDP yet, or they haven't solidified that left wing position, which is why they're putting Cole there because of the production and defensive capabilities he can show at that position versus kind of the detrimental aspects of clearly displeasing a player by playing him there. I think we get a few more games where Manyoma catches on, and we could easily see this lineup going from Cole at the left wing to Alexis there, and then Cole and Connor or Cole and Ali, vice versa, or even Cole and Josh Atencio as Atencio returned this game. Something to note.
Maybe. I think that his play style seems to be more of a number 10, which he is obviously not going to beat out, than he is as a defensive midfielder. And even as a defensive midfielder, right, you technically have 3 players that can play that role. One of them is playing the 10 role, right? So it's a very contiguous spot there that he has to prove himself better than. And how is his chemistry, right? You bring in Aronston compared to Georgie. Georgie was more of a forward-thinking player, while Aronston seems to be more of a defensive-thinking player. If you put Cole there and he is a defensive-thinking player, then they're running into each other, right? So,
Yeah,
like, is it a chemistry thing there as well? Like, there's a lot of things you could look at that there's a reason that he's not being put in that spot.
I think ultimately Cole doesn't see himself as a 6 or a 10 by his own words. He sees himself as an 8. He wants to be that box-to-box shuttler that can be the downhill late arrival to help break up the low block and to also put shots on target. I think what we're going to see in the offseason, hopefully, and what this team truly needs is just a destroyer 6. So we can see like a Jack Price type role, and then we'll see Cole and Paxton and then 2 true wingers on the side.
Hilarious, because weren't we at the beginning of the season a winger heavy team?
No, at the beginning of the season, we were still oops all midfielders. I think we still are.
I
oops all
thought we had like a
midfielders.
bunch of wingers when you were looking at just overall players that could play wing. We had seemed like we had a ton of them.
That was last season. This season it was all midfielders, and I would argue even when we bring in like KDP and Alexi Manyoma, those are still like inverted wingers, interior wingers, like borderline midfielders. I mean, Calvin Harris is pretty much our only true winger.
One person I know who wouldn't mind a chance at that position again would be one younger brother, Sam Bassett, who we had playing in that spot while Cole was out, right? So I wonder if some of this frustration is that he's playing in his little brother's spot.
Yeah, I'm sure Sam would love to get more first team minutes again, but Sarah, if you recall, Sam Bassett doesn't want to play wing either, as far as we know. He sees himself as more of a midfielder.
Well,
It's like all hammers when we need some nails or something. I don't know.
maybe. I mean, I guess this identity crisis is interesting, but I'd like a few people who see themselves as defenders. That'd be nice.
We have plenty that see themselves as defenders, whether they are.
And with that, there is one other stat I want to bring up, which is that we have not had a clean sheet in 11 games. Now that counts leagues, cups, games, but I think in 11 games we've seen an opportunity to see a whole gambit of teams that we're going against, and the one thing consistent is we've got a leak. So I think that mixing things up in the midfield, sure. I think that we're starting to see some consistency and good rapport amongst our players in the midfield, but we've got to figure out that back line.
Yeah, I think the other stat, or maybe not stat, maybe the vibe that we need to address, Sarah, is I think purple is broken. Like we know orange ain't it. I think purple is broken. I think he might be our green king now. I think green's his best color. We're of course talking about
I'd
Zach
still
Steffen's
argue that
goalkeeper kit.
Steffen's performing decently well. I like even like
and I mean, yes, but a lot of the onus is going to be put on him after letting that kind of nutmeg dribbler that he had in his hands go in. I mean, if one goal puts the Rapids pretty much out of the game, Zach Steffen basically letting in an own goal is insurmountable, and then Maxu getting the literal own goal. I think this is just more towards our road form, and I think I'm hoping when we talk about the Minnesota game later in the episode that we see the strength at altitude that they advertise.
Our struggle with our defense, I think the biggest thing is how much investment we have in that defense. When you take Steffen into account, Holding into account, Maxu's contract into account, like we have a ton of investment in that back line. For it to be the sieve it seems to be is a problem.
Yeah. I mean, two of those players are the only ones that have played together with any regularity, in Cannon and Maxu. And then you're still seeing like the foibles of Rob and of Rafa Santos getting into rhythm with the rest of the guys. And we're seeing Laraz and Ronan or whomever is in front of them in the double pivot gets called out too much, so that the defensive line doesn't have that extra bit of middle breakup capability there. Sarah, you having technical difficulties?
A little bit. Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you live from the nation's most occupied city, Washington, D.C., and taking the show on the road sometimes makes the podcast a little more of a challenge. On one last silly thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm curious if you guys can answer this for me. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking back to Hallie's, the conversation we had with it was Hallie about the teams that are named after a state instead of a city.
Haley Dermott?
Oh yeah, that we have with Haley. Sorry, with Haley. You're right.
Yeah, Hallie is Summit Up host. Haley is Rapids chief business officer.
Leave it to me to be the one who can't keep the women straight. Yes, friends, that was a play on words. It's 2025. No one should want to stay straight. And on that note, no. Okay, so the conversation we had was that there are a handful of teams that are named after states, not cities, the Rapids being one of them. So then I had a question. Are there other teams other than Dallas that are named after a city but don't play in that city? Who? I was looking through. I was trying to find one.
New York Red Bulls. They play in Harrison,
but they're not
New Jersey.
named after a city, are they? They're named after. Isn't that a state?
It's also a city.
I mean, so they're named after a city and a state. They don't play it.
Both, right? That's true.
Like, sure.
That was the only one that I could find that I could question eyeballing. Like, the ones that I feel like I know, like St. Louis, Atlanta, Houston, Chicago.
Yeah, I think MLS is a lot better than NFL in that regard.
So I think we're going to start
Santa
calling
Clara
them
49ers.
Yeah, and Frisco FC.
Yeah. Well, no. I can't believe the team we're playing on October 4th. This Real Sandy.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that wasn't
Yeah.
in Salt Lake.
They play in Sandy, Utah.
Real sandy.
Yeah.
They real sandy over there, kids.
They appropriated Spanish soccer nomenclature and don't even play in Salt Lake City.
Well, good job. We ended up turning that bit into something anti-Dallas and anti-Salt Lake. So
Good.
with that, what a great time to move on
Yeah,
to
fuck
fantasy.
Salt Lake. On to fantasy, though.
And again, what a great opportunity to continue our Fuck Salt Lake trend. But first, before I am accused of another betrayal, have you two set your lineups for this week?
Wait, do we have a game today?
Dear God, I'm going to strangle you.
We have a game today?
Yes.
It's
So
Tuesday?
it is. Call back. Starting in 27 minutes and 35 seconds, NYCFC will play Inter Miami, which is the first of a double game week for both of those teams. This week is a little different than last week in that we only have 4 teams going into a double game week. So I will say, Matt, do we need to pause so that you can put some NYCFC and Pink Flamingos on your team?
Yeah. I'm gonna put Messi on my team. I would have put Messi on my team last week with the double game week. That was the only reason you won is because of Messi. I had you beat on every other account.
Okay, well, I'll go on, but go ahead and make sure you make those edits. For listeners, obviously this will be coming out after that game has started, but I'm hoping that you have taken a little bit of advice from previous weeks and made sure you set your team for those double game weeks. Last week turned out to be a fun one in fantasy. We had a mini double game week that really returned some massive scores, and that's because both Miami and LAFC, who had 2 games, put up some massive scores against their respective opponents. The one that I really want to emphasize for multiple reasons is that LAFC played Salt Lake twice this past week. The score for both of those games ended 4-1 in LAFC's favor. And in the first one, LAFC's new kid on the block, Son, got his first MLS hat trick. And tried and true LAFC striker Denny Bouanga scored the other LAFC goal. And then in kind of a fun little brotherly love situation, they reversed it in the second game, trading off. And so in the second match, Bouanga was able to get the hat trick and Son got the 4th goal. So it was a really great week. Hopefully you were on that like many folks were and were able to pick up those 2 players. Though Son got 36 points in those 2 games, Bouanga 31. Both, high contenders for team of the week. And of course, the other not to be missed was Miami with Messi putting up 35 points and Alba putting up 20. So, that's kind of where a lot of my players and points were generated. Of course, there were some other good options for those double game weeks. But honestly, beyond that, we started to see a lot of single game week players get up there and contend for a spot on the roster. So it was definitely a week where you could have done decent if you had, Ojeda, Evander, and some of those other solid single game week players. But if you did not put the cap on one of those, on Son, Messi, Alba, you probably saw yourself falling quite a bit behind one of your what the other players in the league. How did you all do this week?
I lost both my matchup. It was a
That's on a
betrayal.
2-game loss streak right now?
Yeah. Well, it's playoffs this week, right? So I won the table, right?
You did win the commish. So for folks that obviously there are 2 different C38 leagues. One is the head-to-head and one is the open league. The open league is a points bracket. What I've colloquially started calling the golden boot because it's roughly just on who scores the most. And then within our head-to-head, it was a regular head-to-head approach, but it has now transitioned into playoffs. So you will see the final teams are now we're down to only 8 teams playing, and it's going to be bracketed till we get to a final one. I am really actually interested to see how this plays out because just like with any league in this, we had a few folks in there who just like had stopped setting lineups and had fallen off. But the 8 folks in this final are really a competitive crew and people who I think have really grown and improved over the season. So maybe their initial their initial win-losses are actually reflective of how good they are now. So I think we could have a lot of competition in this final bracket to see who wins.
This is going to end up with a Sara and Kevin championship. I'm calling it now. I I sprinted to the top of the table, and despite all of your messy machinations, you couldn't knock me off of that. But I'm gonna fall flat on my face in the postseason because you put playoffs as the format, and one of you or Kev is gonna win the whole damn thing.
Well, honestly, I'm rooting for Kev here. I just think he's made some really smart choices. He's been really consistent. And, there have been several weeks where I've looked and I've been like, wow, if I was playing Kev this week, I would have lost. So he's kept us on our game, and I'm excited to finish out this season and then fight to the death next season as well. On that, this coming week, we have a very mini double game week in fantasy. NYCFC, Portland, Vancouver, and Miami all have double game weeks. An important thing to know here for lineup setting is that Miami plays Wednesday and then has the very first game on Saturday. And that means that you can see both of Miami's games and those players' scores before any of your single game week players will lock out. So I hope you've taken this opportunity to play some Miami players. If you haven't, I hope you learn from, this time and give it a shot next time. But what you can do in that situation is put those double game week players, maybe even with Miami, you have someone you're not super confident with. Maybe you really like Messi, you're not sure about Alba, or you want to try Ustari in the goal. You can put them on your bench, see how they play after 2 whole games. And then if you like their score, you scrub them by putting somebody who isn't going to play on the field. If you don't like their score, you fill your field as normal. You basically get 2 bites of the apple. So these are the moments that strategic players will really watch for in lineups to know that you can really get extra attempts at those points this week. With that, we love to use the section to talk about what games we're looking forward to in this next week. Are there games, matchups, players that stand out to you all for this week?
The only game I ever watch is the Rapids. That's it. End of list.
I'm excited for Mihailovic versus Messi, that Toronto versus Miami game in Toronto. It's the first game of the match day on Saturday. Other games that I think are going to be really fun. I think Chicago's become a really fun team to watch. I haven't been playing as many Chicago players in fantasy, so when I've been watching it, it's just been like casual entertainment value. And Triple G is crushing it for the entertainment value there. Austin versus Salt Lake, that's going to be a fun one that I'm going to look at ahead of our match in Sandy next week.
Agreed,
And then
especially I was
go
going to
ahead.
say, that is going to be really fun to me because we have Salt Lake, who is literally pulling themselves out of the mud with bruises and blood all over their face. And then Austin, who upset the Loons in that, and we're going to talk a little bit about Minnesota, but upset Minnesota in the Open Cup semifinal. So I think that game is going to be really interesting based on the recent performance of both of those teams.
I think ultimately, just for like a quality of soccer standpoint, it's going to be the Sunday night football game of Cincinnati versus Orlando City. Evander, Ojeda, Brenner, and Muriel. I think this is just going to be such a good game. I mean, it could end up being like 0-0. It's such a good game, but I'm really excited about this match.
Tori's favorite is the 0-0-1-1 draws.
I
They're
think
the most exciting soccer in the world.
She's trained us because do you know how much I would pay for an exciting 1-1 draw last week?
Well, I do. I also want to point out, I think Seattle taking on Vancouver away is going to be interesting. Seattle is a pretty dangerous stadium to go into. That's a little bit of Cascadia fun up there. So I just always think that matchup's fun, and you never know what direction it's going to go. I'm also curious with this kind of California showdown with San Diego hosting San Jose. San Diego, I think, is squarely the better team there, but San Jose is just likes to disrupt as kind of their form of soccer. So I could also see them going in there and getting a few goals.
San Jose are just chaos merchants. That's like the Galaxy and Kansas City game could just, who knows what that could be.
Absolutely. And they're probably going to high five about how they both fucked with us after the game. So, I hope that somehow they both lose that game.
An exciting 0-0 draw.
An eagle flies down and just steals the ball.
Oh, man.
On to Minnesota.
Yeah, on to Minnesota.
All right.
Well, the Rapids are going to play the Minnesota Loons at home this coming weekend. The game time is, as we've come to expect, 7:30 p.m. this Saturday. And again, that's at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Monk, what do we know about this team?
Well, they are sitting third in the West at 54 points. They have clinched a playoff spot. They are 15-7-9 with an away record of 8-2-5. Goals for 51, goals against 36. We'll point out, though, out of all those stats, they're coming off of back-to-back losses at home if you include their Open Cup loss. 0-3 to Chicago and 1-2 to Austin. So this might be a team sliding a little bit.
Maybe. I alluded to this a minute ago, though, but did you all see that 1-2 loss to Austin, the Open Cup one?
No.
So it's the Open Cup semifinal, Minnesota versus Austin. They played 120 minutes. Were at a 1-1 draw. So they had gone through all of regulation time. We're into extra time. I, as you know, was so excited to get to see some penalties. We're moments away from penalties. And then Austin's CJ Faudrau scored in the 120th minute. So it was, I think, calling that a loss. Yeah, of course, it's a loss on paper, but Loons held on to that game for 120 minutes. And it was just heartbreaking to see that Austin goal.
I'm still going to count it as a loss because it's the only positive I have right now that we're going to face against Minnesota. So don't ruin that. Because our Rapids are sitting 8th with 39 points at 11-14-6. 8-5-2 at home. Goals for 41, goals against 52. So you essentially, we're not great at scoring and keeping people out of the net, and they are good at scoring and keeping people out of the net. The last match, though, between these two was our first match without Georgie, if I remember, and we won in Minnesota. So we've proven that we can beat them, but we have not seemed to be in the greatest form right now. And I don't know. It's just a scary thought. Playing at home, I think, gives us a help, but Matt's magical statistics that say that we always inverse whatever happens says we're going to lose this one. So what do you think, Matt?
We're not going to lose this one. I think we actually lucked out. Minnesota has been pretty unfortunate. They felt very confident about their team and got a great offer for Tani Aloisi in the transfer window, so they shipped him off. And then 3 games afterwards, Kelvin Yeboah has a season-ending injury. So that's their star striker and their star forward/winger are now absent from the team for the duration of the season. So their offensive prowess, the main reason they could sit back and just play low counter football, those are gone. And we've got Dieng and Randall there that they just don't have the same ability to play the game form that they're used to, which I think we saw with the 2-1 loss to Austin, but also the 3-0 loss to Chicago. This is a Minnesota team that is going to come into the playoffs high on the table, but I really fail to see how they're going to recover from that transfer and that injury. I think the Rapids do the rare thing where they keep the reverse fixture the same result, and that same result's going to be a win.
And what do you read from the fact that they have less to play for here than the Rapids, having already clinched a playoff spot? How much do we think that actually plays into rosters, but also how the players show up?
I think this is going to be Eric Ramsey trying to figure out his playoff lineup now. So I didn't get to watch much of their game against Chicago, so I don't know how much they're just trying to go like for like and keep their game tactics. But I think this is a game Minnesota like you said, stands to not take seriously and use more as a tactical proof of concept for their playoff run. Yeah.
Hope that's
Also,
not the case
you hope it's not the case.
because we play down to our opponents. So if they play terribly, we'll find a way to put the ball in our own net for them. So
I mean, literally all they're going to do is try and sit in a low block, and they have no one to send up field to try and bully us on a counter. So just park a back three in front of the goal and then put the rest of the 8 guys in their box for the whole game.
I also think if you're in Minnesota, you're not counting this one in the bag. I mean, I think that Rapids have had some really unfortunate losses, but I think also coming to Dick's, right? Like we haven't performed as bad at home, and so I think that they know they're going to get a different team, and we beat them there. So I think that they expect a strong squad.
Yeah. This is when Sarah's going to yell at me, but like, and this has bitten me in the ass before. I'm very confident in this win, this game.
I thought you were about to say 5-0.
No, I'm not predicting a score yet. I think the Rapids are going to win. I think the players know it's do or die, and the performance or lack thereof they put up against Dallas has basically required them to win these 2 home matches. I think they needed 7 points out of the final 4 to secure a play-in spot. They got 3, so now they need to get 4 more. So that's going to have to be a win here against Minnesota and a draw at home against LAFC or vice versa. I don't think they can count on any particular result for that away fixture, Rocky Mountain Cup decider in Sandy. So I think they're looking at these 2 home matches to basically butter their bread for the playoffs.
we put ourselves in a bad spot. Knowing like we had that whole fixture of time where we were going against teams that we should just beat, and we didn't get enough points. Like that should have been like us easily sealing our playoffs at that point, and we didn't do it. And now we're hitting the point where we're going up against really talented teams, and I'm not sure they're going to bench people. I'm gonna be honest. They probably are.
Us?
No,
Oh,
LAFC,
LAFC.
Minnesota, obviously Salt Lake won't. But like that's I just so luckily we're playing both of those teams at home, but still, like the talent we have to go up against, and then how poorly we consistently do in Sandy is just god awful. Like we are just terrible there, and we need 4 points. Like statistically speaking, we don't get those 4 points here in the next 3 games. Like if we're looking at this, I logically don't see that happening. As a fan, I think we got a chance in all of those games. I think we have a talented enough team. But if you're actually looking at the level of team, even Minnesota missing 2 star players now, like they still have an insane defense and we have a struggling offense. And then on top of that, like we tend to push too far forward and let goals happen when we press too hard. So like all they have to do is sit back for 90 minutes, let us really try and press, and then get one counter attack with a bench player. And we're in a bad spot.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're onto something, Monk. I do think this is going to be a win. I think this is going to be our 3 points. I actually think, and I'm kind of worried about it, that we're going to draw in Sandy, and that's going to be our 4th point. And then, like you said, LAFC is not going to rest their starters, and we're just not going to have an answer for that tandem of Buanga and Sun. And I think for the fan base and the community, I don't want them to rest their players. Like, I don't know about you guys. I want to watch Sun play. Like, that's going to be cool. So, yeah, I would love for us to get 6 points in the next 2 games, or at least 4, and then hell, we can rest players against LAFC.
Well, and honestly, even in your worst case scenario just now, a draw in Salt Lake gives us the cup and the 4 points we need. So let's play.
Yeah. Score predictions?
I'm hopeful because we beat them first game without Georgie, and that was also without Aronson. So I think we've brought in some talent since that. That was also, I think, pre-holding as well, right? They were after that fact. I think we have a team capable of winning and beating Minnesota, but we have to play better than we played in Dallas.
Yeah.
There's nothing more Rapids than finding hope where there should not be any. And also, I'm sure that ability to find hope where there is none is really serving you well in 2025.
What's that song, Sarah? I found love in a hopeless place. That's like our fandom's theme song.
Totally.
Is that a Calvin Harris song? Who is that?
No. Isn't it Rihanna?
I'm
going to Google it.
I don't know. I feel like Matt needs to go stop by the Prairie Dog.
Rihanna.
Featuring Calvin Harris. Boom.
Oh, shit. We were both right.
Oh.
Featuring Calvin Harris. Well, if that's not a sign.
Yeah. All right. New official theme song with Calvin Harris being our lone goal scorer last week and our only true winger. We're going with, what is it called? We Found Love by Rihanna and Calvin Harris. So we want you guys jamming out to that one ahead of the game in Minnesota, or the game against Minnesota.
Well, now that we've corrected by finding the song, what do you guys think the scoring is going to be?
Monk?
And I want to say 2-0. I almost wanted to give them a goal, but we know how we do when goals are scored against us. So we have to shut out, or I don't feel like I think it's going to be an uphill battle for us. We give up momentum as soon as we let a ball in. I think gonna be Aronson, and you know what? I want Cole to get one. I'm gonna say Cole gets one. I think Cole's being that frustrated and that annoyed last game, and probably getting his ass chewed out a little bit for saying some shit that he probably shouldn't say. Comes out with anger to prove himself on that wing and just goes and gets us that second goal.
Don't listen to Monk, Cole. You talk your talk. You let your voice ring true. It's way more entertaining to talk about that kind of stuff than the anodyne answers.
Well, at least we didn't have to get a translator for it. Wait.
I'm going to go 1-0. I think it is an early goal to Paxton Aronson, who is probably still justifiably upset that he got his debut Rapids goal taken away from him at home and credited to own goal. So I think Paxton scores the lone goal. I think he scores it early. And then we are puckered up and clenched for the next 77 minutes, just worrying that we're gonna lose the game.
It's because that's what my heart needs.
I think we're gonna be on this podcast next week talking about getting that clean sheet for the lack thereof of them that Sarah pointed out, and asking where the offense is gonna come from as we head to Sandy.
Why are you trying to give me a heart attack, Matt? Why are you trying to give me a heart attack? They won't even give me Tylenol at the hospitals anymore.
Don't take Tylenol.
Oh my God, guys, I saw this really funny meme that says, I only took Tylenol PM, so I only have autism at night.
My favorite was the one that said, the United States, if Tylenol really caused autism, and it was that like amazing high-speed rail concept map.
Well, I feel like, I think it's just a very wild world we live in when like Gen Z has just like, and Gen Alpha, whatever, who that next gen has completely destigmatized autism in their own little worlds. And then like we have the old boomers like still so panicked about autism. But on that with the score, I actually love both of your predictions because they were ones that I had thought of, but I just can't go with the clean sheet having seen the last few. But I am gonna go with a win, and not because I am just caught up in love in a hopeless place. I do actually think that the show out at Dick's will be there, and so I'm going 2-1. I was looking, with all those lineup changes, like I'm not going to call it on the Loons side. I think they'll get one in, but I couldn't figure out who I think it would be from. But on our side, I'll do Hoffa and Paxton. I think Paxton at home. You can. He's thirsty for those big, beautiful moments, and I think he can get one at home. And then I think it'll probably be Hoff on a set piece.
So we all picked Paxton, so no pressure. I know you're an avid listener now that you've come to the Rapids and you caught up on all of our backlog. But
yeah,
we're expecting you to score a goal for us.
Wait, he doesn't just listen to the show? He went back and listened to the whole season before he got here?
Exactly.
Interesting.
That was actually his assigned homework while he was on the plane.
Well, I mean, you heard in our Porig interview that Paxton sought out Colorado, and I'm pretty sure it's because he heard our content.
Exactly.
He was like, this is a team full of optimistic fans and jersey color aficionados. I want in. Before we get too
Plus,
off
he
the
wants
rails
to go to a Chicharron concert.
Well, yeah. To go, Don Chicharron just played Chautauqua last weekend in Boulder. So definitely look out for more dates from them. They're playing more and more live shows, as it were. I do want to point out before we go to the sign-offs that Rapids 1 are playing Minnesota at 7:30 this Saturday. Rapids 2 are playing Minnesota 2 at 2:30 this Saturday. So we've got a double-headed Dick on Saturday, where I think we could see 6 points against what's wrong, Sarah? You all right?
Yeah.
Doubleheader at the Dick. Doubleheader at the Dick.
She knows
A
all about
double-headed
that.
Dick.
She
Yeah.
makes sure that they're not straight.
This is a perfect chance for you guys to catch Rapids 2 and see the absolute sensation that Bilo Giap has been this season. The blazing speed of Anthony Garcia. See Charlie Harper and Matthew Sananu. And then Steve Flores, Anderson Rosa. I know a lot of people haven't seen Anderson Rosa since those 4 games he played at the first season. So be there for R2. This team is so much fun.
All the soccer this weekend, I think, will probably inspire some folks to want to play. So I wanted to take a moment to plug an amazing opportunity this Saturday to play some soccer and support a good cause. The Palestinian Children Relief Fund of Denver is doing a 3v3 men's tournament. And it's from 9 to 5 p.m. at Wheel Park in Aurora. So if you want to support an amazing cause and also, hopefully come away with a win and a championship of your own, then definitely check out that tournament. Again, that's PCRF Denver. PCRF is a world-known organization that supports the children of Palestine and have been, essential in a lot of work right now, especially with the ongoing genocide.
Agreed.
How to follow us up. So we're just going to close out. Where they can find you, Fitouri.
You can find me at the Fitouri, getting the fuck out of DC, y'all, and heading back, of course, to Colorado in time to catch the Rapids at the Dick. Matt, where can they find you?
Sarah, I'll just say next time, just stay in Baltimore and brave the commute. Because Baltimore's amazing.
way safer than DC,
Yeah.
as they say.
You can find me at Matthew Wick on Blue Sky. You can find me in 20 minutes playing soccer down in Garfield Park. Come join us in the past if you hear us tomorrow, or join us next week. And you can find me at the R2 game ahead of the R1 game for the doubleheader at the Dick this weekend. What about you?
Love to make the R2 game, but sadly I've got work to do as a volunteer. So I will be DJing at the tailgate before game. We have an awesome Latin ska band. The name just went away from my brain. Matt will remember real quick. Yes. So they will be out there. They are awesome. Absolutely amazing energy. So I hope you'll come out and say hi and enjoy that if you don't go in and watch the R2 game, which will also be very entertaining. So I won't be mad if you decide to go watch some soccer instead of coming and watching me. Outside of that, you can find me on Burgundy Sky at Monk of C38. Up the pit.
As usual, shout out to John Chicharron, who does our intro and our ongoing music, our transition music throughout. Obviously, they're all a great vibe, and we encourage you to catch them somewhere in Denver. And
I mean, you typically catch them in the supporters section. You could typically see Aldo and Ty there.
Up the pits.
The Pids.